Hey friends, Sleepy here, and welcome to episode 14 in my community question series. Just a reminder, guys, there will be a contest held at the end of this series, and for every video that you participate in, you will get an entry into that contest. You can get up to 2 entries per video, one by leaving a comment answering the question, and a second one for doing a video response. If you do both, you will get 2 entries per video. And if you guys do video response, I just ask that you please share the link with me, or at least let me know about it so I can check it out and give you guys credit for it. And I will try to pin your comment so that other people can check it out. And if for some reason YouTube decides to delete it because they've been doing stupid shit lately and deleting things, I'll find your video and I'll post my own comment with a link to your video so other people can check it out. I do appreciate the people who have taken the time to do video responses. You guys are awesome, and I really appreciate it. But like I said, you guys can go back anytime in the previous 13 questions if you missed any, and feel free to answer them. As long as the contest hasn't concluded, you can go back and answer the questions you might have forgot about or missed, and I'll still give you guys credit for that as long as the contest hasn't been concluded. So, get started here with episode 14's question, and my question for you is, do you guys find it hard to complete your games? So I'm like talking about, like, and that's also different degrees of what people just, debatable of like what they consider the game being complete. Do you just beat it, or do you 100% it, or do you go through and get all the endings and everything for it? For me, it depends on the type of game, but some of my favorite games, I like to fully beat them by getting 100% on them, and those can be challenging and difficult at times, especially, as the older we get, we have less and less time to play games. It's not like when I was a kid or younger when I just had endless amount of hours to play through games. So, there are some games I've just had trouble completing, and then there are other ones that I was able to complete because they're much shorter games. And so I have two different stacks of games that I have beat. I have games that I'm working on, and then I have one that's kind of in between. And just talking about, my challenges with completing games. And I know sometimes people possibly could be like how I am, where sometimes, you'll play a game, especially if it's one of those long games, that eventually you either get bored of it or you just need a change of pace and you switch up and play more than one game, and you got to play something different. And I'm the kind of person, though, I can play multiple games at a time. In a week, I could play 3 or 4. Maybe you guys have seen my weekly playlist videos. You guys see that I talk about more than one game because I don't stick to just one game, and I can play multiple games. And I know some people have that hard time. They don't have the attention span for something like that. They get one game. They just got to solely focus on it and just play it till they beat it, and then they move on to the next game. And other people I know like to jump around. So I'd be interesting to hear your guys' perspective on this and your guys' answers. So I'll share some of the games that I have beat, and it's because they're either like something that was really one of my favorite games, or they just weren't very long to beat. But some of these I have beat multiple times. So like the first one we'll talk about here is Onimusha Warlords, and I originally played this on PlayStation 2. It was a really cool game. It was really difficult when I first played it. I didn't know how to play it a whole lot, but I was able to beat it, and the game is only like a 5 or 6 hour game. Of course, when you first play a game, you're not going to be as good at it and take your time and play longer. So when I probably originally played it, probably took me about 8 hours. But then they re-released this on the Xbox original and called it Genma Onimusha or Gainma Onimusha, and it added some new content and stuff and made it a little bit more harder and had some other cool stuff. And so I beat that one in about that 5 to 8 hour time span. Beat it, loved the game, and then I saw there was an Xbox One port, and I picked this up in the last couple of years. And actually, last year I played through and beat this, and I think I did it in like 4 or 5 hours or so. And so this is one of those games where you could actually beat in one sitting, which I did, and it took me just a couple days. But this is an example of one of those games that isn't super long, and so it's something that you can actually sit down and play through and don't have to think a whole lot about it, and you don't have to invest hundreds of hours into like a long open world game. So I do like some of these smaller linear games because I guess you can play them, complete them. And so I did beat this one. Wonderful title. If you guys have not played Onimusha Warlords, I recommend it. You can get on PS2. You can get the superior version on the original Xbox, and then you can get the PS2 port here on Xbox One. I think it's also on PS4. I don't know why they didn't port the Gainma Onimusha version that has extra content, but we got the vanilla version, but it's still a really good game, and it's one you can beat really short. So I beat that one. Next up we have, and I got this last year, A really good game. Had a lot of fun with it, and that was Mafia, the Definitive Edition. So this was a remake of the wonderful game that was on PlayStation 2 and original Xbox. Very difficult game. This had updated visuals, new cutscenes and stuff. Added some content in there. Really cool. Some new collectibles, and it was overall a very enjoyable experience. But again, it's one of these linear stories that you just play from the beginning to the end, and you can beat this in like under 20 hours. If you're going to roam around and look for collectibles stuff, you can. And, if you follow a guide and everything. But overall, I had a really fun time playing through this because I was enjoying it for the story and the characters, and it just really sucked me in. This is one of those, like, I just popped it in, and I just had to keep playing until I beat it. And luck, I was able to beat it because it's not one of those super, super long games. I don't have Mafia 2 down here with me, but I also beat Mafia 2 because it's a little bit longer game, a little bit some open world elements to it, but not a truly open world game. So it was another one of those linear experiences I was able to beat. Definitely recommend the Mafia series, though. Very good games. Really fun, especially if you're a fan of the old um, Mafia and the old 30s and stuff. This game is great for you to experience. Definitely would recommend it, but that's another one that I beat and really enjoyed, and I will eventually go through and play it again. I want to play it on classic mode, which is the old classic difficulty of the old Xbox One, because that one was really difficult, but definitely worth checking out. So we beat that one. Another one here is one of my favorite series, and now this is one that I have beat multiple times. I also have the PSP version of it, but this is Silent Hill Origins, so they did port the PSP version to PS2. I would recommend picking this up. However, this game is extremely expensive these days because of the pandemic. Like, it's $100+ game, but it's a really cool game. It's basically a prequel to the original Silent Hill, and you play as Travis. What the hell's his last name? Grady, and the very beginning of the stuff that happens in Silent Hill is what happens in this game. Well, this is one of those games. It's not super long because it was a PSP one, so you can beat this in like under 8 hours, depending if you how much you explore and get through, because you can really speed run these games. Sometimes beat them under like 2 hours if you want, but it does have multiple endings depending on things you do in the game. And so I did go through and beat this and got all the different endings. I think there was maybe like 4 or 5 endings. Very enjoyable experience. But since this is a portable title for the PSP, it's a much shorter game, and because of that reason, I was able to beat this one. But since I love Silent Hill, I like going through the Silent Hill titles and beating them multiple times and getting different endings. And I like the original Silent Hill PS1. I couldn't tell how many countless times I beat that. I beat Silent Hill 2 a whole bunch of times. I beat Silent Hill 3 a bunch of times. I still actually have never beat Silent Hill 4 The Room. I played it multiple times and then stopped, so that's one it's on my list to beat. I beat Silent Hill Homecoming a whole bunch of times. I beat Silent Hill Downpour a bunch of times. So, like, the Silent Hill series, I just love that much. That's one of those games I can keep going back and playing and beating and beating. And so, that was another one that I completed. Next up here, we have a game that I love for the PlayStation 2. I love these kind of this series. It's an isometric top-down action RPG, and that is Champions of Norath. Played through this multiple times. I've only beat it once, but I have played through it multiple times with my brother and my one buddy Deshaun. And so when I'd restart the game over, though, I would just import my character that was stronger and just keep playing that same character. And I did that this third time, but I actually beat it. And I have the second one. I just didn't grab it. I'm very close to beating that game at the very end, but I'm doing certain things because I want to get certain stuff unlocked that you have to be careful, because you get to a certain point, you'll beat the game and you can't unlock it. So I'm working on that, but I love these kind of games because they're usually about 20 hours or less to go through and beat all the content on them. Sometimes you can beat them quicker than that, but they're really enjoyable games that I absolutely love, and I was able to beat this on the PS2. And I got one more game to share with you guys that I have beat. It was for the GameCube. It was actually one of the first GameCubes. It actually was the first GameCube game I ever played. I played it when I worked at Walmart. We had the demo of it on the TV. If you guys remember that, they always had it angled, so your neck had to sit there. And they did that on purpose because your neck would get annoying. And I asked the one manager I was friends with there why we had them tilted like that, and he said they had it tilted like that on purpose so that people would be discouraged from sitting there and playing on the GameCube and PS2 and original Xbox for hours at a time. Just supposed to let people get a taste of it, but also by having that angle people wouldn't want to sit there for hours and play. However, I did on my breaks and lunches, and that was Luigi's Mansion, which I absolutely love this game. It got two sequels: Luigi's Dark Moon on 3DS, which I actually still have to beat, and Luigi's Mansion on the, which I think it's Luigi's Mansion 3 on the Nintendo Switch. I have beat this thing like 6 or 7 times. It's just one of those really enjoyable games. It's under like 10 hours to play and beat, but this is one of those games that I have completed. Really love it. Highly recommend if you guys got a GameCube and you never played Luigi's Mansion, play the original one. It is awesome. This has the inverted controls that I love, where the newer ones don't, and it's really hard for me to adjust to not having inverted. I can do it, I just don't enjoy it. But this was a wonderful title. More another warning that this is not cheap anymore. When I got my copy used, it was like $10. Of course, this is up to like 60, 70, $80 of the pandemic. It's kind of tough to find. Never see this locally anymore because GameCube games just are gone quick. I'll show you guys, I have one that's in between. I haven't played this for a while, but it is a much longer than the previous two in this series. But that is Metro Exodus, and this is the Aurora edition that my wife got me for Valentine's Day that year that came out. Wonderful game. I've beat the Metro 2033, which is the first one, like 3 or 4 times on 360. I beat it a couple times on Xbox One. I actually beat the Nintendo Switch port. I mean, I just love the game that much. I love the story, the music, the atmosphere, everything about it. It's just one of those games I can play multiple times even if I beat it. I have also beat Metro Last Light on the 360 a couple times. I beat it on Xbox One. I have the Metro Last Light on the Switch because it came in that bundle, but I have not played through it yet. But I really love it in the portable. It's just cool being able to take that game with you on the go. Well, when I heard there was a third one coming out, you guys knew I had to jump on that, and that's Metro Exodus. And I'm working on getting the best ending on this, and that's really difficult because one of the things is like not killing enemies, so you have to do a lot of stealth. Now, there's certain areas where you are allowed to kill people. It's mandatory part of the story. But if there's areas where you don't have to kill people, it'll affect the story, where you get the good ending or a bad ending. I don't know how many endings. There's a couple different ones, but I'm working on getting the best ending. I was playing this like crazy because I was really into it. Then I kind of put it down to put something else, and I haven't picked it up since. So this is one I can go back to and beat, but it's not going to take a lot of time for me to commit to it. Where some of these other games I'm going to show you here now are ones that I have trouble beating because it's the type of game they are and how long they are. So Metro Exodus is one I'm looking forward to beating, and I do plan to beat it this year. So now we'll look at some games that I've been playing for a long time. Put a lot of hours into some of these. Some I actually, there's one here I haven't even played yet, but we'll get to that. But like the first one is like the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. This is one of those games that just has hundreds and hundreds of hours of content, and then they add DLC to it. And some people I know burn through this and they play multiple characters. I usually just play one character for like 200, 300, 400 hours. Like I'm still playing Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind. I've got like 600 hours in that game. I still haven't done everything yet, just because the way I play games. I play them different than other people. Sometimes I just like, if I get really immersed in the world or something, I like to explore every nook and cranny, find every secret, and just there's book signs in the games, and I like reading through them and reading backstory and just investigating. It's just really cool exploring and seeing the stuff they put in the game because you can discover Easter eggs and stuff and do all the side quests. So when it comes to open world games, I like to do 100% of everything I can, and it's just how I've always been. And so for that, of course, it makes it difficult for me to actually complete the game, and for me to feel like I truly complete it. Because like I could go through and beat the main story like I did in Oblivion, but I still had all the side content I wanted to do and the missions and stuff, the mage guilds and stuff. And so for these kind of games, it's tough for me to beat through them. And then after a while, I decided to put them down and start something else. So these kind of games I do have trouble beating, and I still have not beat Skyrim 100% yet. Another one here. Love this series. I played a lot of it the last couple of years. I actually need to start playing again some more, and that is the Tokyo Extreme Racer series. And this is Tokyo Extreme Racer 3, which just has the most content of any of the Tokyo games. This one has over 600 rivals, where that first one for Sega Dreamcast only had like 200. And then they went to, I think, 400 with Zero, and I don't remember how much 2 had. But this is one of those games where I just like, it's just a fun, leisurely game that you can play at night. That's usually when I was playing it, was at nighttime, laying in bed. And I didn't have to think a whole lot. I could just drive, and the music was great. And it was just fun driving around Tokyo, racing the computers. And of course, the further along you get in the game, the more difficult it can get and more challenging. And so there's some grinding stuff you have to do, multiple races to earn money to upgrade your car and that kind of thing. But I have about a third of this game beat. but I would like to eventually 100% beat it. But it's another one of those games that's going to take a lot of hours and a lot of time and commitment, and I just haven't had that time to complete it. But this is a great game here, and it's going to lead me into one I haven't even started yet that's in that series. And a long time ago, I didn't even know this was related to it until in the last few years, because my brother and I remember my brother had this game and played it. We didn't even know it was linked to the thing, but it's called Import Tuner Challenge, and they had changed the series. But the original Tokyo Extreme Racer for the Dreamcast said Import Tuner Challenge presents Tokyo Extreme Racer. So same basic concept, except this one says it has over 200 rival street teams for cash to help build, over 5 million custom import car combinations. This looks awesome. This is a very expensive game too. Now, if you guys wanted to find it, I was finding it for like 15 and 20 in my area, and I actually found a couple copies. One for my buddy Dean, and then I found a copy for somebody else. But it's one of those games that just was really fun. Not a whole lot of people know about it, so it got kind of a small print run. And now copies command a huge price, especially if it's in good condition like this is and complete with the manual. The disc is flawless. I just wish it was backwards compatible with my Xbox One X, because I can only play this on the 360, and I love playing games on my Xbox One X because the 360 games get upscaled and they look beautiful. However, this one was not one that's not playable, but I already know that this is one of those games that's going to take a lot of time for me, just like the other Tokyo Extreme Racer. And I still have 4 before this one to actually finish complete, but I would love to beat the whole series 100% each game. All right. So we got 2 more games, guys, that I'm still working on, haven't beat. Next one is Outward. This is one of these really difficult games where the environment is just as deadly as the enemies, and the resources are kind of scarce. It doesn't hold your hand, so you kind of have to figure out things to do on your own. Then you can do whatever you want. You got to go back to towns and heal. And this is just one of those games I know I'm going to put a ton of content in. I actually bought the DLC for this because it was on sale, and I got the cool pre-order bonus for this because they had it for sale for like dirt cheap. But this is another one of those games that I'm working on beating. I just haven't had the time to go back. But when I did play this the first time when I was playing through it, though, I played it for quite a while, put a lot of hours into it. Really good game. It's just really, really difficult, but one that I've had a lot of fun with. Another one we're going to talk about here is one that I just got last year. That's the Ultimate Steelbook Edition. Is Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and I love the Assassin's Creed games. And I beat Assassin's Creed 1 and 2, and I was working at Brotherhood, but I have not beat any other ones in this series. And once we started with Assassin's Creed Odyssey and Assassin's Creed Origins, and then Assassin's Creed Valhalla, these games are just packed with content. This has the season pass, so whatever DLC gets released for this game, I'm going to have access to. And so that's going to make the game even more difficult to complete, because this is one of those games I want to do 100% of everything. A wonderful game. I love Vikings. I just love this setting, but this is one of those games that's going to take me a long, long, long time to beat. So you guys can see I have that dilemma where, like I can beat these kind of shorter games and that are like 10, 15 hours, and I can find myself able to go through, beat them, and complete them, like Gears of War or Halo or something. But when it comes to the games for like Assassin's Creed Valhalla, I just have a hard time sticking to only playing this and then beating it. Because I know some people can go through and just spend 200 hours and spend 3 months only playing this one game, and that's all they do. Where me, I like to play a variety of games. My taste will change throughout the week. I want to play a racing game, but I also want to play a first-person shooter at the same time. So it really varies. But I'd like to get your guys' answer to this question. Do you guys find it hard for you to play and complete the games that you start? Do you guys jump around a bunch? Or maybe you're able to just, you just sit down, focus, beat that game, and then before you move on to the other one. But I'd like to know your guys' answer to the question. You guys can leave a comment answering this question, or you guys can film a video response, or you can do both. Either one will get you an entry. If you do both of them, you will get 2 entries into the contest that we'll be holding at the end of this series. Again, thank you guys so much for all your participation. You guys are awesome, and I really appreciate it. I want to thank you guys for watching. Take care. You guys have an amazing day, and Sleepy will see you guys next time.